Stellantis shares falling after the CEO, Carlos Tavares, resigned abruptly and filled a bow.
Ram is in big trouble, and this is not your typical car manufacturer kind of trouble. Sure, a lot of automakers are struggling these days, but Ram's situation feels different. It's so bad that some top execs are saying, you know what, I'm out, and leaving voluntarily. You know, Ram isn't just a standalone company. It's part of Stellantis, one of the biggest automakers in the United States. And Stellantis isn't exactly crushing it right now. Sales across the board are slumping, and when you're not moving vehicles off the lot, it's only a matter of time before heads roll and big decisions start shaking up the corporate ladder. Now, Ram has announced something that has shocked the entire automobile landscape and is causing some panic. So what exactly has Ram just announced? And what does this mean for the company? Join us as we discuss this and more. Before we go into Ram's new announcement, let's first take a look at how the company found itself in this situation. Stellantis is a global auto powerhouse that owns big-name brands like Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, and Ram. They were once a major player in the automotive world, but now, this giant seems to be stuck in reverse, and things aren't looking great. Stellantis isn't just having a rough patch, it's in a full-blown crisis. Take Jeep, for example. Remember when it was the brand for adventure seekers? Well, Jeep's sales have dropped a jaw-dropping 44% since 2018. Dodge is having it even worse. It's taken a 67% nosedive from its peak back in 2013. Chrysler isn't faring much better. Once a symbol of American automotive pride, it's struggling to stay relevant. So what exactly is going on? A lot, honestly. Stellantis isn't just having a tough time, it's practically self-sabotaging in some ways. Loyal customers are walking away, and there are plenty of reasons why. Let's break it down. Firstly, Ram's price problem. In the past couple of years, Ram has developed an unexpected talent, building trucks so expensive they're practically unsellable. Seriously, it's like they're pricing them just to sit in dealership lots. And this was happening while their competitors, Ford and GM, were pulling out all the stops to win over buyers. For most of the year, Ford and GM have been slashing prices, offering discounts, and throwing cashback deals left and right. It's been an all-out price war. Buyers could visit a Ford dealer, then stroll over to a GM dealer across the street and play a game of who can give me the better deal. It was a customer's market, plain and simple. Stellantis, however, just sat on the sidelines watching it all go down. No discounts, no incentives, nothing to lure buyers in. It's like they decided to opt out of the competition altogether. And when you don't play the game, guess what? You lose market share. And boy, did they lose. A few months back, the company announced that global vehicle shipments took a nosedive, falling by a whopping 20% year over year during the third quarter. If that sounds bad, it gets worse when you zoom in on North America. Shipments there plummeted 36%, and the reason wasn't some wild mystery. It's because dealerships were already packed with inventory. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The shipment drop was actually steeper than the decline in sales. Stellantis reported a 15% drop in underlying sales for the same quarter, which is still a big hit, but not as drastic as the shipment freefall. Why the mismatch? It boils down to two things: a changing product portfolio and dealers being smart about managing their stock levels. Basically, Stellantis has been tweaking what's on offer, probably shifting focus to models they think will be more profitable or in demand down the road. At the same time, dealerships are playing it cautious, not overloading on cars they're not sure they can sell. Zooming out to the global stage, Stellantis' struggles weren't just a North American story. Shipments also slid in Europe, the Middle East and Africa, and the China, India, and Asia Pacific regions. That's a lot of ground covered, and it points to challenges that aren't just local, they're global. Another big reason Stellantis, and Ram in particular, is in this mess is because their cars just don't have the same spark they used to. You know that feeling when something used to be cool but hasn't really aged well? That's what's happening here. Stellantis seems stuck in a time warp, leaning on outdated models that just don't cut it anymore for today's buyers. Walk into a dealership and it's hard not to notice the rows of unsold cars just sitting there, collecting dust like museum pieces. It's almost as if they've hit pause on innovation while everyone else is hitting fast forward. Look around. Other car makers are dazzling customers with electric vehicles, sleek designs, and cutting-edge tech. Meanwhile, Stellantis is clinging to what worked yesterday instead of figuring out what might work tomorrow. Another speculative reason why Ram trucks are seeing a dip in sales is that a lot of their traditional buyers are struggling to let go of the iconic Hemi V8. You know, the Hemi has been a symbol of raw power and muscle for years, and switching to the new twin-turbo Hurricane engine just hasn't hit the same note for many loyal fans. Let's think about this for a second. When Ford made the move to their EcoBoost V6, they didn't force buyers to say goodbye to their beloved V8s. They kept the Coyote 5.0L V8 in the lineup alongside the EcoBoost. It was kind of like saying, hey, you can have the new tech if you want it, but if you love the classic roar of a V8, we've still got you covered. Smart, right? It gave people options. Ram, on the other hand, took a different route. They decided to phase out the Hemi V8 altogether. Why? Well, it probably boiled down to a mix of reasons: improving fuel economy, meeting stricter EPA and California emission standards, and maybe even simplifying production at their factories. Makes sense on paper, sure, but none of that makes the buyers any happier. The Hemi V8 wasn't just an engine, it was an experience. When a Ram 1500 with a Hemi rolled past, you didn't just see it, you heard it. Those twin exhaust pipes at the back and that unmistakable rumble of the engine. That was a statement. It told everyone around, yeah, this truck means business. For a lot of buyers, that sound wasn't just noise. It was part of the identity of owning a Ram truck. Now, the new Hurricane engine is impressive. It's got more power, better efficiency in some cases, and it's a solid piece of engineering. But here's the thing, it's quiet, like eerily quiet. Instead of turning heads with a signature growl, it's more like a whisper. And for many loyal Ram fans, that quietness feels like something's missing, even if the performance numbers say otherwise. Ram's decision to ditch the Hemi was probably the right call for the future. Better fuel efficiency, lower emissions, and all that jazz. But change is hard, especially when it means letting go of something as iconic as the Hemi V8. It's not just about performance, it's about the emotional connection people have with their trucks. Maybe the lesson here is about finding balance. Ford managed to modernize while keeping their classic options alive, and it worked. Ram, though, they bet everything on the Hurricane, and while it's a great engine, it's going to take some time for die-hard fans to warm up to it. And then there's the Ram 1500 situation. Stellantis knows some of these trucks are rolling off the assembly line with issues, but instead of slowing things down and fixing the root problems, they're sticking to business as usual. Sure, they're patching things up before the trucks hit dealerships, but that's like putting a band-aid on a bigger problem. These fixes aren't cheap, and the delays are causing headaches all around. Now, you'd imagine that every truck that needs extra attention before it can be sold is eating into profits. It's like trying to bail water out of a leaky boat. The more they spend on repairs, the more their production costs skyrocket. That's money and time they could be putting toward making better vehicles or pushing into the EV market where the real action is. Stellantis isn't just competing with Ford or Chevy, they're up against Tesla, Rivian, and a whole wave of EV newcomers that are stealing the spotlight. Buyers today want cars that look sharp, are packed with smart features, and most importantly, feel like they're part of the future. Sticking with outdated designs and ignoring EV trends is like bringing a flip phone to a smartphone party. It's just not going to wow anyone. If Stellantis and Ram want to turn things around, they need to stop playing catch-up and start leading the charge. That means rethinking their entire approach, investing in innovation, doubling down on electric options, and maybe even giving their designs a fresh, modern vibe. Because right now, they're not just losing ground, they're losing relevance. Lately though, it looks like Ram has decided to jump headfirst into the price war that Tesla, Ford, and GM have been battling out for a while now. And let's be honest, it's about time. Right now, you can snag a 2025 Ram 1500 equipped with the shiny new Hurricane engine, a twin-turbo straight-six powerhouse, for an eye-popping discount of over $16,000 off the sticker price. That means it's on sale for around $43,000. Yep, just a little over 40 grand for a crew cab 4C4 pickup truck with a roaring 420 horsepower under the hood. Sounds pretty tempting, right? A truck like that is practically begging to haul your weekend toys, dominate snowy roads, or just look awesome sitting in your driveway. But even with these slash prices, Ram is still struggling to boost sales. But here's the silver lining for anyone shopping for a new truck. These price cuts are a win for consumers. Seriously, this is the kind of market where patience pays off. If Ram's current discounts are any indication, things could get even better as 2025 rolls on. Automakers will keep competing to win over buyers, and that means more deals, more options, and fingers crossed, maybe even more innovative features thrown in to sweeten the pot. So whether you're a die-hard Ram fan or just someone looking for a great deal on a capable pickup, this price war might be the perfect time to make your move. Keep an eye out though, because in the truck world, the real winners are often the ones who know when to jump in at the right time. Now, because of all these, Carlos Tavares, once seen as one of the auto industry's sharpest minds, has called it quits, abruptly. Just 2 months after Stellantis dropped a profit warning, Tavares announced his resignation, leaving everyone scrambling. This comes in a year when the company's value has plummeted by about 40%. The company didn't waste any time reacting. Stellantis confirmed they're aiming to find a new CEO by the first half of 2025. For now, Chairman John Elkann has stepped in to lead a freshly minted interim executive committee, keeping the ship steady while they search for the next big boss. Henry DeCastries, the senior independent director, shed some light on the drama in a statement, saying that clashing opinions among major shareholders, board members, and Tavares himself created an unsustainable situation. And just like that, Tavares handed in his resignation with immediate effect. Not too long ago, Tavares was hailed as one of the most respected executives in the automotive world. The guy was a pro at navigating the complexities of this industry. Carlos Tavares had his golden moment in 2023 when Stellantis delivered a jaw-dropping 12% operating margin. This wasn't just good, it was miles ahead of what Ford and General Motors managed that year, and his hard work didn't go unnoticed. He took home a staggering 36.5 million euros as a paycheck. It was a record year for the company, driven largely by strong performance in the United States, which alone accounted for over half of the operating income. But what goes up often comes down, and for Stellantis, the descent started sooner than expected. By September of this year, the company issued a profit warning. Weak performance in the US, once their strongest market, was starting to drag things down. It was clear that the success of 2023 wasn't built to last. Then came a rocky patch, especially in North America, a crucial market for Stellantis. Slumping sales in the region forced the company to issue a profit warning in September of 2024, shaking investor confidence and raising eyebrows. The profit warning wasn't minor either. Stellantis predicted a cash burn of up to 10 billion euros, around $10.6 billion, largely due to sluggish sales and ballooning inventories in North America. It's a tough pill to swallow for a company that relies heavily on this market to keep its profits rolling. In the wake of the profit warning, Stellantis initiated a major shakeup at the top. Key figures like the chief financial officer and the head of North American operations were replaced. Interestingly, Tavares managed to hold on to his spot at first, but it was clear the writing was on the wall. A few weeks later, Stellantis announced that Tavares wouldn't be seeking another term as CEO and was planning to retire when his mandate ended in early 2026. The company said it would take its time finding a successor, aiming to complete the selection process by late next year. But with his sudden exit, that timeline has been pushed up. It's clear Stellantis is navigating uncharted waters, trying to steady itself in the midst of uncertainty. Their shares have nosedived by about 40% in just 12 months. Compare that to Ford, whose shares are down just 7%, or General Motors, which is actually up 55% this year. It's like Stellantis is stuck in reverse while its competitors are speeding ahead. Now, Stellantis isn't some no-name car company. It's the world's fourth largest automaker by sales, a powerhouse born out of the 2021 merger between Fiat Chrysler and Peugeot. At the heart of this mega merger is John Elkann, the head of the Agnelli family, the same family that founded Fiat over a century ago. Elkann, who represents Stellantis' biggest shareholder through Exor, their family's investment company, had some kind words for Carlos Tavares, the outgoing CEO. Tavares played a massive role in putting Stellantis on the map, orchestrating the merger and steering the company through its early days. And Stellantis isn't just an Agnelli family affair. The Peugeot family and the French government, through BPI France, also hold significant stakes. It's a classic example of European industrial cooperation. Fiat from Italy, Peugeot from France, and Chrysler from the US joining forces. But as you can see, this multinational powerhouse hasn't been firing on all cylinders lately. Back in Detroit, Jeff Latham, who owns a Stellantis dealership, says this past year has been rough. He's been staring at a lot full of unsold cars, while sales for previously reliable models, like Jeeps and Ram trucks, have tanked. Inventory is piling up and customers aren't exactly lining up to buy. When Latham heard about Tavares stepping down, he actually felt relieved. It couldn't get worse, he said bluntly. And interestingly, his General Motors dealership just down the road, no such problems. They're managing inventory, sales are steady, and the mood is a lot brighter. Because of these issues, Stellantis dealers, frustrated and seemingly out of patience, sent a formal letter to CEO Carlos Tavares in September, outlining their growing concerns. The message: something's got to change. The the numbers paint a pretty grim picture. Through the third quarter of this year, Stellantis' US sales were down a staggering 17% compared to the same period last year. That's a big drop, especially when you're talking about flagship brands like Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Chrysler. Even Stellantis' bread and butter vehicles, like the Ram 1500 pickup truck and Jeep Wagoneer, aren't moving like they used to. According to data from car shopping app Copilot, Stellantis dealers are sitting on a whopping 112 days of supply for these models. To put that into perspective, competitors like the Chevrolet Silverado and Ford Expedition are turning over inventory much faster, with about 20 fewer days of supply on average. In the world of auto sales, that's a pretty significant gap. One major issue is that Stellantis has been struggling to sell even its 2023 models. Yep, the ones that should already be flying off the lots are gathering dust instead. And as frustration grows among dealers, it's becoming clear that there's a disconnect between what the automaker is producing and what customers actually want to buy. But the problems don't stop there. Internally, tensions seem to have reached a breaking point. Reports suggest that Stellantis' board felt Tavares was prioritizing quick fixes to protect his reputation rather than focusing on long-term strategies that would benefit the company. The sudden announcement of Tavares' resignation shocked many, but maybe it shouldn't have. Analysts at Bernstein believe the split must have been pretty dramatic for Stellantis to decide they'd rather go without a CEO even temporarily than continue on their current path. This kind of move screams urgency. It's a sign that Stellantis' leadership, shareholders, and even employees recognize the company needs to course correct and fast. Fabio Caldato, a portfolio manager at Acome SGR, which owns Stellantis shares, summed it up perfectly. New ideas and fresh forces are needed to plan the company's future. What's next for Stellantis? With Tavares out, Stellantis is at a crossroads. The company has the global reach and resources to stage a comeback, but it's clear they need a new vision and the right leadership to make it happen. Dealers are calling for better alignment between what they're selling and what buyers are demanding. Shareholders want a strategy that's sustainable and future-focused. And consumers? Well, they just want great cars. Industry insiders are sounding the alarm. They're saying Stellantis needs to make some big moves, and fast. If they don't pivot soon, they could lose their foothold in key markets like the United States. And let's be real, once you lose that, it's a long road back. Some are even warning that if drastic changes aren't made, Stellantis might have to pack up and retreat from some of these markets altogether. Can you imagine a world where Jeep and Dodge are afterthoughts? Scary, right? It's not just about cars, it's about adapting to a rapidly changing industry. Competitors are leaping ahead with electric vehicles, better tech, and more sustainable practices. Meanwhile, Stellantis seems stuck in neutral, unable, or unwilling to keep up. If they don't get their act together, they risk becoming a relic of the past, like some once great brands that now only exist in history books. Now, Tavares is out, and his successor will step into what feels like a perfect storm. They'll need to juggle thorny relationships with US President-elect Donald Trump and the European Union while making big bets on the right technology to keep Stellantis in the game. Let's talk about Trump. He's made it crystal clear that he's no fan of automakers importing cheap vehicles from Mexico. His promise to slap tariffs on these imports could hit Stellantis hard. Analysts at S&P are already forecasting that this move could slash a quarter of the company's EBITDA by 2025. But the challenge isn't just on this side of the Atlantic. Over in Europe, Stellantis faces another set of hurdles. The EU is cracking down on gas-guzzling cars with stricter penalties for emissions, forcing automakers to pivot faster toward electric vehicles. All of this begs the question, what kind of leader does Stellantis need now? Some might say they need another Marchion, a bold, disruptive figure who's not afraid to shake things up. And sure, that kind of energy might help, but what Stellantis really needs is a political genius. Someone who can build bridges, not just in the boardroom, but between countries, policies, and competing interests. They'll need to navigate Trump's tough stance on trade while also staying in the EU's good graces. That's no small feat. At the same time, they'll have to guide Stellantis through one of the most competitive technological races the auto industry has ever seen. China is emerging as a powerhouse in the electric vehicle game, and their ability to produce cheap batteries and flashy tech, like driver assistance features and entertainment systems, could crush any company that can't keep up. Stellantis needs to get these bets right, or they risk becoming irrelevant. For Stellantis, this is a make-or-break moment. They're not just competing with Ford and GM anymore. They're up against global forces, political challenges, and technological revolutions. The next CEO will need to be someone who can see the big picture while managing the nitty-gritty details, someone who's part innovator, part diplomat, and all leader. Chairman John Elkann has his work cut out for him in finding this person. Ticking even one of these boxes, US politics, EU regulations, or tech innovation, will be tough. Ticking all of them? That's going to take a miracle. But hey, Stellantis has weathered storms before. If they can find the right leader, there's every chance they'll come out of this stronger. If not, well, the road ahead looks bumpy, to say the least. Finding the right leader for a massive company like Stellantis isn't exactly a walk in the park. It's not every day you come across someone who checks all the boxes. Experience, vision, adaptability, you name it. That's why someone like Luca De Meo gets a lot of attention. He's done wonders turning things around at Renault, but Stellantis, that's a whole other beast. It's like comparing climbing a hill to scaling Mount Everest. Interestingly, John Elkann, Stellantis' big boss, might think outside the box for this one. Remember Sergio Marchionne? He took the wheel at Fiat with hardly any car industry experience and drove it to success. Or Benedetto Vigna. He's running Ferrari now, but his background is in semiconductors, thanks to his time at ST Microelectronics. These examples show that maybe, just maybe, you don't need to be born with motor oil in your veins to lead a car giant. Given Stellantis' challenges, there's another angle, bringing in someone with solid US experience. Why? Because the American market is a huge piece of the puzzle for Stellantis. Two names pop up here: Antonio Filosa, who heads Stellantis' Jeep division, and Mike Manley, the former boss of Fiat Chrysler. Both know the US market like the back of their hands, and that kind of expertise could be a game changer. The most important thing to note is that speed matters. Investors are already jittery, as seen in the near 10% drop in Stellantis' share price this Monday. That's a clear message. They're worried and they want answers fast. If Elkann can lock in a credible successor quickly, this leadership change could actually turn into a fresh start for Stellantis, maybe even a rebirth. The bottom line? The clock is ticking. The right leader could calm the waters, but the wrong choice, or worse, a delayed one, might just sink the ship further. For now, all eyes are on Elkann to see if he can pull off another Marchand-style masterstroke. If he plays his cards right, Stellantis could be gearing up for its next great adventure, but until that announcement drops, investors and everyone else are left biting their nails. So what do you think about Ram's troubles and its decision to retire Carlos Tavares? Let us know in the comments section. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest videos. While you're still here, click the video on your screen to see more interesting content like this one.